Hello, hi, welcome to the new video. Here in this particular video, I am going to share the recent interview questions as well as answers also. And it was a role for DevSecOps engineer with 3.5 years of experience. It was for first technical round, and the the company name was Supply Wisdom, and there are two panel members actually, and there are overall 25 questions. One panel member asked till 15th question, and then second panel member asked the remaining questions. And also one more best thing in this particular interview was it was happened for around a 1 hour. Okay, and then after completing interview like 10 to 15 minutes, I received a email from the HR that recording of the interview. Okay, so they recorded the interview and shared a transcripted. Okay, and also I mean that includes both recording of the interview and also a transcript like subtitles like that. Okay, summarization, what interviewer asked, what I answered. So this was the one of the unique thing I found across many interviews I was attended, and yeah, it was a really great experience to me. And I will definitely share complete questions, and also I will try to put the questions in the description. If you are preparing, try to consider your responses and also my responses also, then that will be definitely a good helpful for your upcoming interviews as well as preparation. Okay, and the first question was interviewer explained interviewer introduced himself and the colleague both, and then he asked about, can you go ahead and introduce yourself. You can answer in such a way like I am so and so, your name, and I was working as a DevOps and DevSecOps engineer with 3.5 years of experience. I have experience in implementing CI/CD pipelines, container orchestration, cloud deployment, and integrating the security tools into the DevOps workflow. And my experience spans across earlier organizations, you can name it, and where I have worked on different technologies like AWS, Kubernetes, Docker, Jenkins, CI/CD tools like GitLab, Jenkins, Azure DevOps, and IAC tools like Terraform, configuration management tool, Ansible. And I also implemented security scanning tools such as Trivy, Snake, SonarQube, Fortify, Zap, GitLex into a CI/CD that will enforce the shift left security. And I also hold certain certifications. You can name the certifications you have. And my focus is on building a secure, scalable, and automated solutions for application delivery. Like that, you can answer. You can introduce about yourself. Okay, and moving to the next question. This interview, one more best part was I got most of the scenario based questions, like whatever the interviewer first person covered, he covered many scenario based questions. So that is also one of the best thing in real time. Whenever if you tomorrow attend one of the interview, then obviously you can expect these similar kind of questions in your interview. Okay, so try to be prepared for these questions, and this are the questions which is asked especially for mid senior level positions from 3 to 5 years of experience, I can say. Okay, and the question was, suppose there is a 0-day vulnerability from Docker or Kubernetes, what is your procedural response process to mitigate the risk present in the present environment? So there are obviously different steps involved in this. First step, where immediately we need to check with the vendor advisories like CNCF, Docker, or Kubernetes. And the second step was we need to validate if our environment is impacted by scanning the nodes or containers or some versions. And then in the next step, we are going to apply a temporary mitigations like disabling the vulnerable features or applying a network segmentation under restrictions. And the next step was we are going to patch the cluster components or some base images with vendor fixes as soon as released, as soon as that particular patch is released. And the next step was we are going to run a Trivy or Snyk scans across the images to avoid, to validate the fixes if anything is there. And then in the next step, we are going to monitor the logs and alerts in Prometheus or Grafana, like whatever the alerting mechanism we have. And that will basically let us know anomalies post patch. And you can also explain or describe your real-time use cases if you have any experience, okay, in your project like that. Okay, and moving to the next question, suppose there is a high severity vulnerability flagged in your production, and how do you and you are using some security tools in CI/CD pipeline scan. How do you investigate and resolve this particular high severity vulnerability? So first of all, we need to identify like which tool is flagged, like Trivy, Snake, Fortify. Based on this, we are going to review the vulnerability details, like what is the CVE ID, what is the severity, what is the exploitability of this vulnerability, and then we are going to check whether where it exists, whether it is exist in the base image or some dependencies or some custom code it was exist. And then if patch is available, we need to rebuild the Docker image with the fixed dependencies. And then if let's say if there is no patch is available, we need to apply a mitigation, like block the exposed ports or use the WAF rules and restrict the permissions. These are the considerations we need to do if no patch is available. And then we need to roll out the patch via the CI/CD pipeline with a zero downtime strategy, like following a blue-green deployment strategy. And then we need to document the fix steps, whatever we have taken in Jira, and then we need to notify to the concerned security or compliance teams to to maintain certain education, to make them educate in the upcoming future days. Okay, and the next question was what is the team structure and strength? So it is very generic questions, and generic question. The answer will be depend upon your project and the company culture you are working with. And in my current role, I follow a hybrid DevSecOps model where we are 5 members in a DevSecOps team, which is who is responsible for CI/CD, infrastructure automation, and security scanning. We also collaborate with the separate development teams where they have around 50 plus developers across working across different microservices. And we have a cloud operations team who is managing underlying AWS infrastructure and security governance teams that defines the compliance policies. Within DevSecOps, I primarily own CI/CD pipeline security, container security, and Terraform based infrastructure provisioning. And the next question was how many projects you handled? Is it internal or client related projects? In my earlier organization, I have worked as a DevOps engineer where there is a project, DevOps transformation project for a public client. A book publishing client, and we have implemented the Jenkins pipeline, Terraform infrastructure for automation, infrastructure provisioning, Kubernetes deployment, and integrated tools like Ansible and Prometheus, Grafana into the pipeline. And in the current organization, I am supporting multiple client workloads where my primary focus is DevSecOps and embedding. That's primarily focusing the embedding the security tools like Fortify, Trivy, Snake, GitLeaks, Zap, SonarQube into a Jenkins or GitLab pipelines, and we are going to enforce a cloud security practices in AWS. And I have also worked with both the internal and internal automation projects as well as the direct client environment facing. And the next question, this question is, this fifth question is also generic question. It is depend upon your project and culture where you are working. And the next question was, suppose some of your team members accidentally committed AWS secret access key, access key into a GitHub or some code repository. What is your immediate response plan, and how do you prevent this do not to happen in future? My immediate response will be, I will revoke a key from repo immediately by using a git filter repo or something, and then I'm going to rotate the access key in AWS IAM, and then going to scan a GitHub history by using a git leaks to ensure no other secrets are leaked or committed accidentally. And also I'm going to monitor a CloudTrail logs or else Prometheus or Grafana if any misuse of the leaked key is notified there. And coming to the prevention, which is not going to happen in the future, I'm going to enforce pre-commit hooks like git leaks or truffle log for secret detection. And then I was going to move to a IAM roles and short-lived credentials instead of static keys. And I will also use a GitHub branch protection and mandatory scans for in CI/CD pipelines. And moving to the next question, suppose you used a Trivy and scanned a Docker image and you found multiple critical CVEs in the base image. As that application is running on, in the base image you found a multiple CVEs. If it's in a production release, you wanted to remediate without any delay or downtime, how would you remediate this particular vulnerabilities? Okay, so in this particular case, I immediately check if vendor provided a patched base image for the patched base image, and update a Docker file from the initial line, which is from to the latest stable image, whatever the vendor is provided. And then I'm going to rebuild a application image and deploy via a blue-green deployment strategy on EKS cluster that will ensure a zero downtime. And then if patch is unavailable, then I will use distroless image or some minimal OS to reduce the attack surface as much as possible, and apply a runtime security. And I will also document and track the CVE resolution in a Jira, which is a bug tracking tool. And moving to the next question, what is the time frame to resolve the critical, high, medium, and low vulnerabilities? So basically, it is a kind of SLA, we can say, where critical within 24 to 48 hours we need to resolve, and high within 7 days, medium within 15 to 30 days, and low within 30 to 60 days. This is basically aligns with the industry standards like CIS benchmarking or OAP's risk-based prioritization. It is basically depends on that. And the next question was, suppose there is an intern in your company and he was given a administrator access by mistakenly. What risk will be identified there, and how do you enforce least privileges going forward to any new intern or new someone to the team? Here the risk will be unauthorized access to sensitive data will be gained to that particular intern, and accidental deletion or modifications in infra may happen, and a possible misuse or credential leak also might happen. And coming to the fixes, we can immediately revoke the unnecessary admin privileges, and then we are going to apply a principle of least privileges, and then follow a role-based access controls, implementing of role-based access controls, onboarding process that includes all new users provisioned with the least privileges roles by default, and continuous audits with AWS IAM access analyzer, and periodic renews will be done. The next question was, suppose there is a load hosting on your production workloads in US East 1, which is a AWS region, and it goes down due to some reason. How do you design a multiple region failover factor using AWS services? Here in this particular case, we are going to use a Route 53 with the health checkups for DNS based, domain name based failovers, and then we are going to replicate a data with the Amazon RDS or Aurora to a multiple region, or some DynamoDB global table. tables, and we can use S3 cross region replication for object storage, and then we can deploy our workloads in multi-region EKS clusters with the load balancers failovers. And we can also leverage a cloud front as global edge caching to reduce the dependency on one region. And also we can regularly test the DR failover with Java's engineering, which is we will get to know like simulated outages in future. And the next question was your Jenkins agent is compromised by a malware. What steps would you take to ensure pipelines are secure and credentials are not leaked? It is basically regarding securing a Jenkins pipeline. So first of all, I will isolate the compromised agent. I will stop Jenkins worker. And also I will disconnect from the master node, and I will rotate all the secrets or credentials stored in the Jenkins. And I will revoke the Jenkins audit logs and system logs for suspicious activity, and I will run the malware scan on agent, and then I will rebuild from clear AMI container, and I will move the secrets to a secrets to vault vault, external vault or secret manager, AWS secret manager, not a Jenkins credential.xml. No, not storing directly in XML file. And also I will enforce the least privileges services account for agents. And I will let's say if there is a hardened agent, so I will disable a root login and apply a OS patches, and I will run in ephemeral containers. No such job uses a fresh agent like that. And the next question was a Docker container in your production starts consuming 100% CPU. How do you detect if this is a crypto mining attack, and how do you mitigate this particular situation? First of all, if we discuss about how do I detect, I will use Docker stats or Docker top command where that will spot the abnormal CPU uses, and I will check the container logs where unknown mining process like XMring that will get to know, and I will inspect the network traffic like IF top or a TCP a dump that will basically gives high outbound to mining pools. Okay, and coming to the mitigation, I will immediately isolate or stop the containers, and I will scan the images with Trivy or Snake, and that will basically see if it was injected via a dependency or how it was injected. And I will patch a Docker base image and rebuild the application, and implement a runtime security like Aqua or Prisma Cloud for anomaly detection. And I will restrict the container privileges like drop root command, and enable app armor. That is the one of the mitigation step. And moving to the next question, your Docker images are like 2 GB and your system is very slow. How do you optimize these particular images? I will use minimal base images like a Node 18 Alpine instead of Node 18. Okay, and slim versions like that. Okay, and I will construct multi-stage builds or only copy necessary build artifacts, and I will add Docker ignore file where that will avoid copying node modules, logs, and local files. And I will remove the unused packages and development environment dependencies, and I will replace the caching with a Docker build kit, and I will push the images to local registry mirror to reduce the network latency. Then final production image can be reduced to a few hundred MBs instead of 2 or 3 GBs. And the next question was, your app is running on EKS has a latency, but CPUs are working or running fine. What else would you check in this particular situation? I will check the memory and input output uses. I will check if the pods are throttled, and network latency. I will check the CNI plugin, Calico performance, and DNS resolution issues. Core DNS logs I will check, and I will check the load balancer health. Network load balancer metrics with the help of network load balancer metrics, and horizontal pod autoscaler, maybe unused maybe under provisioned replicas, and database latency that will basically helps to validate by validating the Aurora metrics or some RDS database latency also will get to know. And I will also check the pod scheduling. Some pods stuck on nodes with high input output load. These are the different things we can check in this particular situation. And the last question from the first interviewer was he was asked to share a screen and write a script if the Nginx service is running, and we need to restart that particular service if it is not running. It is a simple shell script we need to write. And a similar kind of question I faced in one of the face-to-face interview also. So it is very much important to know the certain scripting knowledge experience. As a mid-senior level, definitely they are expecting some practical approach. Okay, so definitely you need to have, and you need to showcase the same skill. Okay, and the next question was the second interviewer asked starting these questions. He asked first, do you know the technology? Then only he was moving with that particular question. He asked, are you familiar with the Dockerfiles? I said yes. Can you write a similar Dockerfile? Sample Dockerfile for Node.js application. Can you explain the same Dockerfile? So I write a sample Dockerfile by including from working directory, copy, run, copy. Different comments in the Dockerfile, and I explained the same. And then the next question was, are you familiar with the Kubernetes? I said yes. And then this was the question regarding the Kubernetes. A pod is stuck in a Kubernetes with a CrashLoopBackOff. Can you walk me through the exact steps and commands you are trying to you will use, and steps you will take trying to diagnose and resolve this particular issue. In this particular case, I will use kubectl get pods -m and namespace. Well, that will confirm what exactly the pod status, and then kubectl describe pod and then pod name. That will check the events of the pod, and kubectl logs and pod name and -f and previous. That will see last crashed container logs. If config or environment issues, then configurations or some environmental issues, then we need to fix the config maps and secrets, and then we need to redeploy the applications. If there is a issue in resource issue, then we need to increase the memory CPU limits in YAML file. And if there is a code issue, we need to roll back to a previous working image. And if there is a crash loop due to readliness or liveliness prods, then we need to adjust the probe thresholds actually. And moving to the next question, there might be different scenarios. You can explain the same whatever approach you have, and scenario you got striked at that particular situation. Can you list a security scanning list? Sorry, in the earlier answer, somewhere in the introduction, I listed some security scanning tools. So this was the question regarding that follow-up. How do you integrate those tools into your Jenkins CI/CD pipelines? So I have integrated multiple tools into a Jenkins as well as a GitLab CI/CD pipeline that spans. Those tools spans across multiple categories like SAST, SCA, DAST, container scanning, secret scanning. In SAST we used Fortify as well as SonarQube, and then in the SCA we have used a Snake, WAPS, dependency check, and in the DAST Fortify as well as ZAP, and container scanning Trivy, Aqua Security and Sneak, and secret scanning, Git leaks, Trufflehog, and Git Guardian. And we have added this as a pipeline stages after building, but before a deployment stage. The pipeline enforces quality gates. Example, building fail. The build need should be failed if critical vulnerabilities are detected, and then that will reports. The reports are published back to your Jenkins dashboards, and Jira tickets are created automatically, and that will pass to the concerned team. That is how we can integrate that in a CI/CD pipeline. And the next question was, are you familiar with the Terraform? In the Terraform, if two engineers apply a changes in the same time, what happens to a state file, and how do you prevent this corruption? So basically, if two engineers apply change at once, both try to write to the same state file, then we need to use a remote backend with state logging mechanism by using S3 plus DynamoDB log, Terraform Cloud or Azure storage with the logs. We need to enforce all Terraform plan or apply through a single CI/CD pipeline, not from local missions. We need to split the infra into a multiple smaller state files, networking, app, DB, like that. And we need to enable a versioning on S3 for recovery if corruption happens. That is a few steps we can take to prevent corruption. If a container cannot reach a service on another container by a host name, how do you debug this particular issue, and how do you fix this? So in this particular case, I can use policy as a code where one moment. I will first check the DNS resolution inside the container, NS lookup space service and a dig space service, and then I will verify that the service is correctly defined in Kubernetes service or Docker network, and I will enforce the containers are on the same network or same namespace or service name for Kubernetes. And I will also validate a core DNS logs and kube DNS pods in EKS if you are using, and I will use kubectl exec command into a pod. I will try curl and then a service and then service port number. Okay, that will basically checks the access. Okay, and coming to the fix, how we can fix it, we can recreate missing DNS entry if DNS entry is missing, and then we can attach correct a Docker network, and also we can adjust a network policy to allow a communication. That is the few steps we can take. And the next question was, are you familiar with the cloud security in AWS? If an S3 bucket has a resource-based explicit DNS, understand this question clearly, resource-based explicit DNS, but your IAM policy allows it, what happens, how it was working? Okay, so explicit DNS always overrides explicit, whatever the explicit DNS is there, that will always always overrides allow in AWS IAM evolution logic. So that is why it was you are able to access. Okay, and even let's say if the AWS IAM user or role has a S3 get object is allowed. So if the bucket policy says deny, the action is blocked. So that is the importance of a bucket policy. And to fix this particular thing, we need to review the bucket policy, and then we need to service control policies. We need to check the service control policies of the bucket, and then we also need to check the IAM roles together. And moving to the next question, are you familiarized with the SonarQube? What is the quality gate in SonarQube? How would you enforce it in Jenkins? So basically a quality gate is a set of conditions like a minimum coverage percentage, maximum code smells, or no critical vulnerabilities. These are some quality gates. That code must pass these quality gates before merging or deploying into your production. So in Jenkins, I integrated SonarQube with the help of a plugin, and I will run a scans after build, like Mav and Sonar, or with the help of Sonar Scanner, and I use a SonarQube webhook plus Jenkins quality gate plugin. If the project fails quality gate, then the pipeline automatically fails, and then code is blocked from the release. It will be then they need to patch and then rebuild the particular pipeline. Okay, and the next question was, are you familiarized with YAPS Zap, and how do you run Zap in CI/CD pipeline without graphical user interface? I have used a Zap, YAPS Zap in headless, which is I can say daemon mode. We can use with the help of direct command line utility. With the help of, after installing the exe, we can use the CLI utility of that, and also we can use a Docker file also. We can run a Docker container, okay, for YAPS Zap if you are using Linux based environments. And I think for Windows based, I'm not sure it is, the image is not, official image is there or not for YAPS Zap. And we can also integrate this into your pipelines in your stages in any of these CI/CD pipelines servers like Jenkins or GitHub, and then we can export the HTML or XML or JSON report, and then we can publish the results, and then also we can set up certain arguments to fail the pipeline if high risk vulnerabilities are found. And then the next question was, do you have any question? The final question I basically ask what is the a team structure of the current project, and what is the tool and technology stack using. The interviewer clearly explained what exactly the project is about, and also I asked if I got selected, do I need to work for a client or in-house? They said in-house project only. And yeah, these are the questions which I got, and I think so you got certain insights which is very much helpful for your future preparation, and some points need to be considered while you are preparing. And yeah, that's it from this video, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much for watching the video.